Free State Education MEC Tate Makgoe will be laid to rest today in Bloemfontein. Makgoe died alongside his protector, Warrant Officer Vuyo Mdi, last Sunday morning after the vehicle they were traveling in collided with two cows on the N1 near Winburg. The driver of the vehicle was injured and transferred to hospital. Now let's get the latest. We now cross to our senior reporter, Samkele Maseko, who is there for us. A very good afternoon to you, Sam. All right, so Tate Makgoe has been described as a visionary and his death as a deep loss to the basic education sector. Talk to us about how other mourners have described him and also bring us up to speed as to where we are right now with the program.
Well, Flo, we are waiting for the remains of Dr. Tate Makgoe to arrive here at the Memorial Park, where his remains will ultimately be laid to rest this afternoon. We did hear earlier on the Secretary General of the ANC speaking, Mr. Fikile Mbalula, speaking of how Dr. Tate Makgoe was not on the ANC list after the 2019 general elections, and it took the ANC's National Executive Committee to rein in the leadership of the ANC in the Free State, and also the then Secretary General Ace Magashule, in saying you cannot remove the best of the African National Congress from the province to province list of those who will be deployed to Parliament. Fikile Mbalula saying that it is ultimately the ANC's National Executive Committee that took that important decision to make sure that Dr. Tate Makgoe was on the ANC list, and he did come back as the MEC of Education in the province of the Free State, saying that those in the leadership of the ANC from time to time, they leave out those whom are capable and have the necessary skills to run the departments that they run as MECs, as ministers, saying that Tate Makgoe is and was the best of the ANC in the Free State province, just like many others whom were left out in the streets due to factional battles of the African National Congress, but saying the ANC intervened decisively in making sure that Dr. Tate Makgoe comes back as the MEC of Education in the province, a province that he took from 66.5% of matric pass rates in 2009 and made it successive number ones when it comes to matric results within the country. Just this past year, in 2022, the Free State province received 88.5% of the matric pass rate in the country, ultimately clinching the number one spot. Gauteng Premier, speaking through Deputy Minister of Education Regina Mohaule, saying that there was a stiff competition, but a friendly, nice competition between the Free State province and Gauteng when it came to the education sector.
All right, I heard the ANC Secretary General, Fikile Mbalula, when he was talking during the funeral service, they're talking about, an end to factions within the ANC. And certainly we saw, dignitaries from different camps, if one can put it that way, at the funeral service today. I mean, this sort of event would obviously be bringing people together who might not agree politically in terms of the ANC. Is that, the sort of sense that you got today as I was looking at some of the different ministers and former ministers and those who were there in one room today who might not necessarily be on the same camp? It did seem quite interesting as well for the SG to address the issue of factions.
The SG of the ANC essentially raised the issue of factions within the Free State province, highlighting where the Free State province comes from. At one point, he made reference to Mxolisi Dukwana, the provincial chairperson and the premier of the province, in saying that they will be watching the Free State province and coming down on Mxolisi Dukwana like a ton of bricks, knowing the history of where this province comes from, saying that in the historical context of the political machinations of the governing party in the Free State province, those whom were capable of doing their jobs in government were sidelined and kicked down to the streams and curbed out of the African National Congress due to factional reasons, and highlighting how Dr. Tate Makgoe was removed from the ANC list in 2019, went as far as highlighting other people like Gregory Ntatisi, who is the incoming mayor of Mangaung municipality, where we are currently at, in saying that they will not be allowing the Free State Provincial Executive Committee to behave in a manner that is that we are in charge now, Sitwere power no, and that they will be eliminating all of their political opponents. Mbalula going as far as to saying that those whom were victors at the ANC's provincial conference earlier this year must give out an olive branch to those whom lost out at the provincial conference, like Sisi Ntombela, the former premier of the province, like Thabo Manyoni, the board chairperson of the demarcation board, those like Paseka Nompondo, the former provincial secretary of the ANC and former coordinator of the interim provincial committee, that they must all come together, they must all work as one and make sure that the ANC is a united force going towards the 2024 general elections. But also speaking about the legacy of Dr. Tate Makgoe, speaking about how he espoused and valued education, speaking about how he rose from the grassroots of the African National Congress, starting from the Tumahule Student Organization, going on to the United Democratic Front, and going on to become one of the underground operatives who was trained through guerrilla tactics in Lesotho, in Botswana, was ultimately incarcerated in Sun City for 5 years with what was dubbed the Welcome Trialist, when they were moving and connecting with various underground cells of the African National Congress, moving weaponry and weapons across the structures of the ANC in order to fight for the liberation of this country. But as we are speaking, Flo, the police procession is arriving here at the burial site, the memorial park. We are waiting for the cortege to also make its way here, where ultimately Dr. Tate Makgoe will be laid to rest this afternoon. A very politically charged memorial service of Tate Makgoe, particularly by the Secretary General of the ANC, by Umkhonto Wesizwe, and also by those representing the Congress of South African Trade Unions, speaking about the current wage impulse in the public sector.
All right, let's catch up at a later stage. I do understand at this point that the cortege has indeed arrived, so perhaps we should indeed respect that particular process and perhaps keep it quiet for now. Let's catch up with you at a later stage then. Samkele Maseko, a senior reporter there, who is indeed at the funeral service of the late Tate Makgoe, the Free State MEC for Education, who is being laid to rest today.